I work as a program advisor, so I do academic advising, a little bit of career advising and career coaching, and a lot of tracking students' progress in the special programs that I work with. So I work with engineering students and students in computer science mostly. Before that, I spent a long time at Ohio University working in various roles there, and a couple of years at Georgia Tech down in Atlanta. Um, I am also a student. So I'm studying to get my PhD in a department at Ohio University at a department called Innovative Learning Design and Technology. So part of what I study in my PhD program is teaching and learning online and using technology for teaching and learning, which has come in pretty handy since last spring when the COVID era began and we all had to go online. So I'm hoping that I can share some of my knowledge with you, and we can talk together and help each other through, just some of the challenges that come along with learning online. So here's the agenda for our time together today. If I can get my slide to advance. There we go. So we'll spend a little bit of time doing introductions. We'll do a quick poll and just talk about a couple little fun things, get to know each other, and then I want to zone in on what are you wanting to get out of this time together so that we can focus our time on that. I want to share with you some first 4 weeks resources and online learning resources that are available on Columbus State's website that are awesome and really helpful. And I want you to know where those are so that you can go and look at them later. I think someone has just popped in. Brooke, if you're just joining us, if you have a second tab or a second device, maybe a phone or a tablet handy, you can go to this zeetings.com/RRENNICH. I've popped it in the chat and follow along and answer the poll questions there. As I was saying, just want to make sure that you're aware of some resources so you can go and use them later and refer to them later at your leisure. They're really good resources available. I think it will be helpful to do a little, to spend our time working on something. This is supposed to be a workshop, so I don't want to just talk at you the whole time. I want you to walk away having taken some steps that are going to help you. And kind of learning a process that's going to help you. You're going to repeat this process for yourself with other classes and, in fact, every semester. Whether we're online or not online, these are pretty helpful things to do. So if you are thinking about it now, maybe think about a syllabus that you could pull up in the background. You're going to need a syllabus from one of your courses to do this activity that we're going to do together. But we'll think through some scenarios, some things that students might be facing, and talk a little bit about what they could do. Or so maybe you'll have similar issues or scenarios. And then we'll go from there. What do we do from here? What's next? Any questions that people have? I really want to be able to focus, like I said earlier, our time on what you want to get out of our time together. So I'm hoping we can be really interactive and talk. I know you've all got the great Teams etiquette and you've got your mics on mute, but feel free. There's so few of us in here. If you have a question or want to chime in with a comment, just unmute yourself and chime in. I'm totally fine with that. In fact, I would encourage it. So there's only a few of us, so I don't think we have to worry about talking over each other or that kind of thing. Okay, so let's get started with some polls. So now on your second tab or device, you should be able to just click right on the answers you think. But Super Bowl weekend coming up, just for fun. Who are you rooting for? What are you thinking? Oh, it's heavily Kansas City right now. Okay, we're about half and half. We're about half and half. Uh-oh. If you don't like football, the correct answer is Kansas City, says Jeff. Yeah, that's totally fine. I'm not a football fan. I just watch the Steelers because I grew up in Pittsburgh. If you don't watch the Steelers, you get murdered. So yeah, I survived the playground. I watch the Steelers. So once they're out, I don't care. I want to know what you're watching. We're all stuck at home in this pandemic time. What are we binging on? Anime? WandaVision? This Is Us and The Bachelor. Yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes of WandaVision. It's very mysterious. What animes are you watching? Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan. I've heard really good things about Attack on Titan, but I haven't found the time to watch it. Okay, I'm gonna have to check Attack on Titan out. All right, let's get a little bit more serious now. How would you rate your knowledge of resources at Columbus State? Okay, threes, that's pretty good. So we're feeling like we know where a lot of things are, but there's probably some room for improvement and some things to learn. I heard a ping, but I think it was from a different team's chat. Okay. So this is the real deal. You can put multiple answers for this one. I want to know what topics you're most eager to talk about today while we're talking about sort of online learning 101. While you guys are typing, I'm gonna get myself a little water so that my throat doesn't get dry in the middle of talking. What did you come here for? Staying motivated, pacing and time, feeling connected, feeling like you're teaching yourself and you want to change that test prep. You can put multiple answers. I think you can put up to 10. I don't expect you to put 10, but certainly feel free to put as many as you want. Looks like only 2 people have responded so far. You can put the same things. If you see an answer up there that you agree with, you can put it up there also. Tutoring, study groups, financial aid information, motivation, groups, mentors, friend groups, scholarships, staying motivated. Okay. Well, I think we can talk about a few of these things. I'm not sure that financial aid info and scholarships are really on the docket for this one, but we can certainly start pointing you in direction of where to look for more information about those things. Managing class assignments, yeah. Types of video chat apps, okay. There's a lot of stuff here. So Jeff's saying there are some financial aid sessions tomorrow, so great. Jeff, if you wanna, if you know the times for those or the links and you want to pop them in the chat, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll do that as part of the wrap up at the end.
Sounds good. So what I want to say is, you know, I study online teaching and learning and as a student right now. And I think one of the big differences between sort of traditional learning in person and teaching and learning online is that in a traditional school environment, there's a lot of structure that the school provides you just by virtue of being in person, right? So they're making your schedule. They're telling you, okay, you have this class on this day at this time in this place. When you're online and you're learning, particularly with a fully online class as opposed to a live online class, you have to provide a lot of that structure that was given to you before. And so it is a little bit more challenging in that respect. But if you set yourself up and think about how you're going to structure your learning, it can be just as good, sometimes even more productive and more beneficial to your learning than learning in person. So that's, I think, a big piece of what we're going to talk about today. I think one of the mantras for how to be a good student in an online environment is to always be thinking about, what can I do now to save future me some hassle, right? What can I do to make life easier for future me? And that's kind of the key question to ask yourself, especially at the beginning of the semester, where we are now. So yeah, I'm going to keep these in mind, and we might flip back to this slide to talk about more of these things as we move forward. But I do want to share with you some of the really great resources that are available on Columbus State's website. So if you go to cscc.edu/academics/first 4 weeks, it's a little hard to find some of this stuff, but once you find it, there's some really great stuff here. So one thing I want to highlight, and this is just a screenshot, one thing I want to highlight is this pre-semester checklist. This is a great tool. I know we're into week, 3 of the semester now, so it's not pre-semester anymore. You can still go and use this checklist. And you can still go back and do many of these things. And you can kind of check in with yourself on that if you've already used it. Have you seen this pre-semester checklist before? Anyone? Yes, no? Okay.
I've seen it, but I don't think I've actually went through and read it.
It's probably worth your time. It's like 5 minutes, and it really will help you. A lot of what you have to do to succeed in this online environment is just organize yourself. And this is a great resource for getting yourself organized. The other thing I think that's super good here is this Online Learning 101. And on the next slide, we're going to look at some screenshots from that site. But so that's definitely there, and you can get there, and it's awesome. There's a lot of good resources there. Also, there's these live virtual workshops and on-demand 24/7 online workshops. So those workshops are on things like, I saw somebody was asking about the different kinds of like meeting and chat softwares and apps. There's workshops about those. There's workshops about using Blackboard and all those kinds of different technologies that you need to familiarize yourself with in order to engage in your classwork online. So this is another one of those things that's kind of a challenge of teaching and learning online, is that you have kind of extra learning extra learning to do, because you have to learn not only the course material, but also you have to learn the technology that you need to engage with the class. So it requires a little bit more extra time, extra effort, both on your part and on the part of the instructor. The instructors should be doing their part to help you become familiar with those technologies. And some of them are better at that than others. Some of them are more familiar with those technologies themselves than others. So these workshops are done by the IT folks, and they're fantastic because they are really experts in these technologies. This is the Online 101 website, so it's just cscc.edu/online101. By the way, if you're signed in on Zeetings, you can download this PowerPoint at the end, and so you won't have to remember these web addresses. You can just go back and look at them. If you have a notebook handy, I would really highly encourage you to write them down, or just type them in your browser right now and bookmark them to go back later. So there's a few videos on this website, and I watched this Keys to Being a Successful Online Student video the other day. It's really good. And as a person who, again, studies online teaching and learning and knows a thing or two, they really hit all the bases here. I would highly encourage you to watch that video. It's like 5 minutes, but it has a lot of really good information and great tips on it. Also on this page, and I did not put a screenshot of this part, but if you scroll down a little further on that page, there's some really good tips and tricks, and I'll just go over them with you right now. cscc.edu. Online 101 here, but I guess I did not. So some of the tips that they give, which are all super good tips, is one is to set up a space. Set up a space to do your online learning. So in my home, I'm working from home and studying from home, and my wife is also working from home. And so we each have space in our house where it's our office. Like, I've got my computer set up. It's apart from everyone else. I can close a door. Same with her. And so we kind of know, like, hey, when somebody's in that space, they're working, they're engaged, and they're not necessarily available. I think that for many of us working from home, and I don't know what your situations are, if you're more if you're coming back to school, or if you're coming to school from high school, those kinds of things. But it's easy for others who you live with, whether they be your family or friends or housemates or whatever, to not sort of respect the time that you've set aside and the space that you've set aside to be working on your schoolwork. And I think it's really important to have those conversations and set those boundaries, and let people know, like, hey, during these times, I'm working on school, so I can't be interrupted. You know, it's really easy if you've got maybe like a younger sibling at home or something, for a parent to say, like, hey, can you look after them while and you have to be able to figure out ways to negotiate saying no to that sometimes, and saying, I've got things I need to take care of for school. That doesn't mean you just have carte blanche. I mean, I think you have to negotiate those relationships, but definitely think about, how are you setting boundaries, physical boundaries, and boundaries on around your time and your energy, so that you can be focused on school the way you need to be. One way I like to think about it is, if you were in person on campus for class, you would have that class meeting for as many credit hours as that course is. So if you have a 3 credit hour course, you would be in class 3 hours a week. And you would be expected to be doing homework, studying, reading, writing, working on projects for another 3 to 6 hours a week. So for every credit hour that you have, you need to set aside, 3 to 9 hours per credit hour. So you take that number of credit hours, you multiply it by 3, and that's like kind of the max amount of time that you probably need to have set aside. But you should be spending, if you have a 3 credit hour class, you should be spending 3 hours a week logged on to that class. That's how much time you would be spending in a classroom. So think of it that way. I think that's a good framework to start to organize your time. And another thing I would suggest in terms of organizing your time around your classes is to set aside time for each class early in the week, no later than Tuesday, because you're going to want to log in and check what's due, what's coming up, what do I need to do this week for this class, and you need to have time to be able to get those things done by the due date. Some people said that they really wanted to talk about managing the tasks and the time. I think it's really important to get like a to-do list for the week early in the week. And it's also important to start on things early. Try to plan to have them done a day or even 2 if you can before they're due. Because if you run into trouble, getting help takes a little bit longer. You have to email your professor. You might not be able to just pop in and talk to them. You won't necessarily see them in person like you would if we were in class. And they have lives too. So they're logging on and working on class stuff every week, but they have families. They have maybe children who are home from school. They have dinner to cook and chores to do and all that kind of stuff, just like you do. So recognizing that they aren't necessarily going to be sitting at their computer ready to answer your email at the drop of a hat, and you need to give them time to read and respond to your email. So if a assignment is due on Sunday and you plan to try and have it done on Thursday, and you run into trouble, well, you can email your instructor on Thursday and they can get back to you on Friday and you can still get it done on time by Sunday. But if you wait until Sunday and to start working on it and you run into trouble, they may not be checking their email on Sunday. They might not be able to get back to you before it's due, and now it's late, and then you got to deal with that whole rigmarole. Now, I will say that I think, in my experience, most of the Columbus State instructors are very flexible about this kind of stuff. In the COVID era, they recognize that this is not normal and that they have to give some extra leeway to make sure that students are able to access them and to make sure that everyone's doing the learning that they came here to do. But again, that varies from instructor to instructor, and so you kind of have to know. So setting up space and boundaries, both physical and boundaries about your time. Writing down key contacts, and we're going to talk about this in the syllabus exercise, but having a space where you can very quickly find contact information for anyone you need to contact, whether that be your instructors and faculty members or your academic advisor or somebody maybe in an office that you're working with to get help, whether that's maybe like financial aid or disability services or some other student support office. Like having all that contact info in a handy place, written down, posted next to your computer where you work, or saved in your cell phone, those are really helpful things to do. Managing your assignment workload. So putting your assignments on a calendar, whether you use some sort of written agenda notebook, or if you use an electronic calendar like a Google Calendar or your Microsoft Outlook calendar, but having things visible, being able to track them and kind of knowing what's coming up and when, so that you can plan your time accordingly. We talked a little bit already about scheduling your study time, setting aside specific time to work on your class, and just make those appointments and say, I'm in class during these times. It's also not a bad idea to share that schedule once you have it made with other folks in your household so that they know not to interrupt you and that you won't be available during those times, and that you really are focused on school during certain times. Just like if you were in class in person, if you're watching video lectures or reading from an online book or a physical book, you should be taking notes. It's not optimal for your learning to put a video lecture on and then kind of listen to it in the background while you're washing dishes or doing other stuff. You need to act like you're in class. You need to sit down with your notebook, take notes, pay attention, be engaged. So the level of engagement that you get put into your coursework is going to be very proportional to what you get out of it in terms of your own learning and also in terms of your grades. Another thing, and people talked about this in the what do you want to talk about, is study with your classmates. I know a lot of instructors have just set up collaborate rooms that are just they leave them just kind of open so that people can pop in. Arrange with your classmates, talk to them on the message board or talk to them if you have live online sessions and you have a chance. Set aside some times to make a study group and study together. Set aside some times to just jump on a Zoom call. Zoom is free for one-on-ones. You can even do free for multiple people. Google Hangouts is free. Jump on a call with someone. You don't even have to talk to each other. Just having another person study at the same time you're studying and you have your cameras on, you can be silent and just doing your own things, but that makes a big difference. It's not the same as being able to be with someone in person, but it's a lot better than not doing anything and not being with anyone. So make those virtual study appointments, make those virtual study dates. You can use things like your OneDrive or a Google Drive to make shared documents and share notes back and forth with each other, and have conversations that way as well. Those things can be super helpful to help make study guides together, teach each other what's going on in your courses. Those things are huge. You can also, there's a website called I'm blanking on the name of it. I'll Google it at the end and we'll get it to you. But there's some websites where you can just have a online study mate, study buddy, who is a complete stranger. And again, sometimes it's just having an appointment, having somebody on your webcam. That accountability piece helps with making sure you're spending an appropriate amount of time on your schoolwork, because it's very easy in this virtual environment to kind of slack off and not really spend as much time on school as you would if it was in person. And then that gets reflected in the amount of learning you're doing, and it can get reflected in your grades as well. So those are things that you don't want to do. And finally, teach others about what you are learning. Whether you're online school or not, this is a huge, very important way to learn things. If you cannot explain something to someone else, then you don't understand it. So it's a great way to study. It's a great way to test yourself and your knowledge, without looking at notes, without pulling out your book or your note cards or your notebook. Can you explain what's going on in your class to someone else? I would go so far as to say that it is a good strategy to teach someone else your class material. It's such a good strategy that if you don't have anyone that you can talk to about it, make someone to talk to about it. Get line up some stuffed animals, get an action figure and put it in front of you, whatever it takes. Anthropomorphize your volleyball like Tom Hanks stranded on an island, and teach your volleyball. Teach what you're learning to someone else. It is huge. And that's a huge study technique. For a long time that was touted by Richard Feynman. If you don't know who that is, he is a nuclear physicist who helped with the Manhattan Project and is really awesome and well known for his teaching. Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left. I know we got a late start, so let's pull out a syllabus and let's work on this syllabus activity together. Anybody have questions or comments on any of the stuff we went through just now, by the way?
There's one thing I thought I'd mention.
Yeah.
I recently downloaded this app called Notion on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone else has heard of it, but it's basically like a notes program that you can make an account, and all your notes and lists are through this account, and you can download the app on your phone, computer, laptop, and it's free for like basic use. And you can also get like a premium version, but it's like definitely not required. And there's no ads, and I think it's really good.
Yeah, Notion's a really great note-taking app. You can also, I think you guys get free access to Microsoft OneNote, which also does a lot of those same things. And I think you get free access as a Columbus State student. It should be in your Office 365 stuff that you have access to. So OneNote's awesome because you can also set up collaborative notebooks with people. You can put pictures, and you can just paste pictures into there, like cut and paste them. So from the web, or from, if you have a PowerPoint, you can screen grab it and you can stick it in your notebook. It's really great. So yeah, apps. There's tons of apps like that out there that are helpful. So yeah, thanks for that recommendation. Anybody else have anything? All right, so if I'm assuming that by now you all have your syllabus out. What I would highly recommend is that you do this for all your classes every semester, but we're just going to go through one right now to just kind of like run you through the process. So there's like a lot of vital information on a syllabus, and it's really important to spend time going over your syllabus and really understanding it and knowing what's on there. So the first and most important thing is, who is my instructor and how do I contact them? What's their phone number, email address? Do they have policies or preferences about communication? If they do, I would write that stuff down with your contact information. So what I would do with this information is, again, thinking about how can you make life easier on your future self? Well, instead of having to dig through a bunch of different syllabi to get the contact information for all your different instructors, at the beginning, just go through all your syllabi, write it down in one place. So have one note card or piece of paper that you write it all down on, tape it up next to your screen wherever you sit and study, or put it all in your phone, put it on a Notion note, something like that. And maybe even multiple of those things, right? Write it on a notepad, paste that piece of paper up, take a picture of it on your phone so that you have it on your phone all the time. Put your contact information into your phone's address book so that you have it all the time. And then if they have any policies or preferences about communication, so if they say something like, hey, I only check my email between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, you want to note that. You want to know that that's the case so that you can have the right expectations about when they're going to get back to you. Does your professor keep office hours, virtual office hours or drop-in hours? When are they? How do you join them? Is there a link? What I would highly encourage you to do, if they do have some kind of virtual office hours or drop-in hours, go ahead and put that on your calendar. Put it on your electronic calendar, set it with no reminder so it doesn't ding and bother you, and add in the description that link for how to join. When you're back in person, do this too. Put your professor's office hours on your calendar, put their office location on that calendar, and then just turn off the notifications that that's dinging every week. Then when you need to go find your professor or you need to go to the office hours, again, you don't have to dig back through all the syllabus. You just open your calendar and you say, oh, here's where it is. Oh, there's where the office is. If that's a building that you're not familiar with, grab the building layout from the website online and paste that in there too. Now you have a map also. So those things are easy to do. Put it on your calendar at the beginning of the semester, and then your future self doesn't have to go searching for it. It's just there and accessible very easily. So let's do that now. If you have office hours, grab those links, throw them on your calendar. What kind of calendars do folks use? Raise your hand if you use an electronic calendar of some kind, like a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. Okay, most people use an electronic one. Put your hands down and raise your hand if you use like an old school appointment book. Oh, you use both, Chelsea?
Yes, for like meetings, I use my Outlook calendar so it notifies me. And then I also have a, on my tablet, I have a personal calendar, and then I also have an agenda for all my school stuff. Oh,
okay. Awesome. Yeah, I like to use written to-do lists because I really like scratching them off, and I like tearing out the page when I've gotten to the end of that list and throwing it away. It feels good, like, oh, I got a lot of stuff done. But electronic calendars for me are the way to go because a calendar only helps you if you look at it. And an electronic calendar makes a noise at me to tell me to look at it when it's time to do something. So that helps me tremendously. I think with organizing your time and your tasks, everyone's unique. And I think what works for one person does not work for everyone. And you have to experiment and play with different methods and find the ones that work for you, or the pieces of ones that work for you, and keep what's good, throw away the rest, and kind of Frankenstein together your own like system. But it's important to have a system. It doesn't have to be someone else's system. It doesn't have to be a particular system. It has to be a system that works for you. And the only way to get there is to experiment with trying different things and see what works and what doesn't. So I encourage you to do that. Moving on, syllabus. What are the technology requirements for your class? Do you need any special software? Do you need to download Zoom or Teams? How will you connect for class? Will you be using Zoom, Teams, Blackboard, Collaborate? Do you need to are there going to be discussion board posts? Get those kinds of things, like know what those are ahead of time. Try to work out those technology kinks ahead of time, so that when it comes time to hit the ground, you can hit the ground running and you don't have to fumble with technology. You've already got that sorted. If you need any, I would also recommend, like, if there's readings and stuff that are posted on Blackboard, have a local file that you download that stuff to onto your hard drive. Because if your internet goes out, and then you don't want that to be the reason why you couldn't do the reading, right? If you already have it downloaded, you can just open your folder. You don't need internet. You can just open your folder that you downloaded it into and read it from there. So I would say download all your stuff right away, beginning of the semester. What other course materials do you need? Is there a book? Any additional readings? Where are they? Familiarize yourself with the Blackboard website and how your instructor has that organized and where things are. Again, when something's due, you don't want to be spending time going searching for it. If you already know kind of what the layout is and where to find things, it saves yourself so much hassle later on. And, 90% of the battle on doing a lot of things in life is getting started. And if you can reduce the amount of effort it takes you to get started, you're doing yourself a massive favor. So make sure you know where that stuff is and kind of have that organization in place right away at the beginning of the semester. And if you can't find things, if you're looking through your syllabus or looking through the Blackboard and you're like, where the heck is this? Ask your instructor. They want you to engage with their course and say, hey, I was looking for this, I can't find it. Where is it? So the other thing you should be able to find in your syllabus is, what are the major assignments for a class? Are there papers, exams, projects? When are they? When are they due? Many instructors will put some sort of schedule for the semester on their syllabus. Transfer all that stuff into your electronic calendar or your notebook, your agenda, paper agenda. Have it all in one place for all your different classes right away at the beginning of the semester. What that's going to allow you to do is notice something like, oh, I have 3 exams in 1 week. I'm going to need to spend more, start studying a little further ahead of time to make sure I have study time for all 3 of those exams. Or I have 2 papers due on the same day. And that lets you plan out how much lead time you need to get done. If you have a whole lot of major stuff due at the same time, then you know that you need to start on it a lot earlier to be able to handle that. And then you don't end up not doing things for 2 weeks and then having 1 week where you're just buried, right? You can spread that workload out and make life easier for yourself, but only if you've looked far enough ahead to know that that's going to happen and plan for it. So putting all this stuff on right at the beginning is huge. Are there any resources? So oftentimes your syllabus will have links to resources. Somebody was asking about tutoring. Oftentimes your syllabus will talk about tutoring being available for that class and how to access that tutoring. Any other kinds of policies you need to keep in mind? There's almost certainly going to be some sort of academic integrity policy, late policies, attendance policies. All of those things are going to be in your syllabus, and you have 4 classes or 5 classes. Collect all that information into one place from all those different syllabi so that you don't have to try and find the right syllabus at the right time. It's all just available to you and organized somewhere that you can easily access it. It's also really important to track your grades. So how many points are my major assignments worth? What other ways are there to earn points in this class? Maybe there's weekly discussion boards that aren't major assignments, but they're worth 5 points a week or something like that. How are those assignments weighted? If you have a quiz every single week for all 16 weeks, that's a 100-point quiz, but those 1,600-point quizzes are worth 10% of your grade, and you have a final and a midterm that are each worth 40% of your grade. It's not that big of a deal to totally bomb half your quizzes. You only lost 5%, you still have an A. So know how important things are and how much time you should be spending on them. Those quizzes, by the way, if you have a class structured like that, those quizzes are great study fodder for the exams that are worth a huge part of your grade. You got to do well on those exams if they're worth 30 or 40% of your grade. If you have 10 quizzes and in total they're worth 10% of your grade, well, that means each quiz is only worth 1% of your final grade. That's not that big of a deal. That doesn't mean you don't have to pay attention to them or you don't have to do them, but it means that you can put it in perspective. So tracking your grades and knowing how you're doing throughout the semester is also important, because that indicates to you when you should ask for help. And the students who do best are the ones who know when they need help and ask for it when they need help. Okay, so that's the syllabus stuff. anything that anyone wants to talk about, we only have a few minutes left, and we have a couple of scenarios that we can talk about, but I really want to hear from you all right now before we move into that. What was helpful? What was not helpful? What are you still wondering about? We've gone over a lot of stuff. And I think we covered a lot of the things that you all asked about in that very first, that last quiz, like poll question about what are you hoping to get out of the session? Are we all still here?